We're getting movement now on up on the Hill on gun control. We've had movement on the deficit. Is President Obama's call for action and pretty much, I guess, a challenge in his inaugural speech to get things done, is it working for him?
Well, I think in his inaugural speech, President Obama had a call for liberal action. Do I think a lot's going to come of it? I don't know. For the kind of things he wants, the kind of things he spoke about during the inaugural, he's going to have to rely on his friend Harry Reid in the Senate to push a lot of that. When it comes to gun control, look, there are some common sense policies in some of the things the president prescribed, but there are other things that are a step too far. But again, what can get through the Senate? It's going to be up to Senator Reid, who's opposed to Barack Obama on a lot of these issues, to push a lot of that and to see where the majority lies in the Senate. So that'll be interesting. On the budget and on spending, look, I think there's an opportunity to find common ground. There always is. But again, it's going to be interesting to see the Senate finally show their hand after 3.5 years to say what they believe, put it on the table, and to pass a budget. I'm looking forward to that, as I know a lot of people in Washington are.
Marianne, we're going to get a budget?
Oh, we are, and I think we're going to get a lot done. I mean, in this post-holiday season, the Republicans in the House seem to have had an epiphany after they had their retreat and had their best pollsters lay out the bleak landscape for them, which finally said to them, look, if you keep doing the same thing you're doing, you're going to lose the House. And I really think the Democrats have a great shot at winning the House back in 2014. So that's why all of these measures, whether it's gun control, the budget, go down the list, there are going to be votes on all of it. And I think given the fact that you're looking at 18 seats here, the game plan for the administration is to try to get through everything they can these first 2 years in this second term, win back the House for the last two, so President Obama ends his presidency the way he began it, with a Democratic Senate and a Democratic House. And I think a lot of people, what you saw in that inaugural speech was the general blueprint or overall plan of what Obama's going to pursue, but you're going to get the details on February 12th. In the State of the Union. And I think that's where you're going to see very clearly the stark contrast, and the Republicans are finally starting to cooperate after trying for 4 years with them not cooperating. It didn't work out well for them. I think they're coming around.
Brad, you see it that way?
Actually, I don't. I mean, it's interesting. President Obama in 2009 took office at 70% approval rating, had a historic opportunity to be a post-partisan type president, the kind of guy he campaigned on in 2008. And he didn't do that. Instead, he pursued an ideological agenda. He didn't seek any cooperation on the stimulus. He rammed it through, got no bipartisan support because he wouldn't include any Republican positions or any conservative positions. And from there, he abandoned his top priority, which was to fix the economy and create jobs. And he went through an ideological push for health care and brought the country on a 1.5-year tailspin to pursue an ideological liberal goal instead of focusing on the economy. And instead of learning from that and learning the lesson and focus on what people care most about, which is jobs and fixing this economy and economic growth, he's starting off the second term the same as he started off the first, pursuing ideological means, whether it be on gun control, whether it be on climate change, whether it be on gay marriage. I mean, these are all things that should come second to fixing the economy, which he campaigned on as his top priority. So I think that would be a huge mistake. And I would just say to Marianne, look, the House is the House, and sure, Democrats have opportunities in the House, but if the inaugural was the preview of what the House Democrats are going to campaign on in 2014, Republicans are going to gain seats, not lose them in the House.
Well, so we're all set up for a wonderful 2 years of battling to the midterms. I can hardly wait. But, Brad, Marianne made the point that the Republicans are coming around because it hadn't worked out for them just challenging the president and saying no a great deal. Is that fair? Do you think that's true and accurate?
Well, look, I think you always have to judge by the terrain that you're on and what's recently happened. The president pushed for tax hike. The president won an election. The president got his tax hike. Now it's time to turn the page and move on to what's next. We have a budget disagreement that's going on. We have a sequester that's scheduled to come on March 1st. These are areas where we need to work together. So now it comes time to say, okay, the president got his tax hikes. What spending reductions do we need to make? And most importantly of all, let's be serious about entitlements. The president has been saying for 1.5 years that health care entitlements are the driver of our debt, that Medicare is going to be insolvent in a few years. I agree with him. Most Republicans agree with him. And though he might not agree with Paul Ryan's plan, there are other steps we can take. And so if we're going to be serious, let's have a serious discussion and really fix the problem.
Marianne, is that not a fair argument that everybody seems to accept that we have to, at some point, look seriously at entitlement spending? The president did not seem to be in any mood to bend to that in his inaugural speech, at least.
Yeah, I don't think that's true. I think you're going to hear more about that again at the State of the Union. You have to take those two speeches together to see exactly where the blueprint is for the second term of President Obama. And the reality there is there will be some changes in entitlements. But what he opposes, and rightfully so, is cutting benefits for people who are already on these programs or about to be on these programs. If you're 50 and under, I think there will be some changes. I think, however, one of the dirty little secrets right now is why so many Republicans are opposing Chuck Hagel is because Hagel knows how to cut the defense budget. He knows how to cut the Pentagon. And that's what's going to happen here. Because when you look at our budget, the ginormous amount of money that's really being spent are on two wars we should have never been in and everything at the Pentagon. That's where we're going to have cuts too. So that's where everybody's going to have to make some cuts, make some sacrifices, and make some changes. Everything's on the table. And the fact that the Republicans in the House finally saw the wisdom of not, stopping the debt ceiling and letting us go through and pay the bills that they've already put on our charge card is signs that they're starting to realize that their political fate is tied to how they handle all these issues to turn the economy around, finish the job, and finish putting everybody back to work.
All right, last word to you, Brad.
You know, it's always interesting to hear Marianne and other liberals like her to come and say, well, this is about paying the bills that Republicans racked up. You know, President Obama did a pretty good job of racking up the bill himself. Nancy Pelosi did a heck of a job racking up the bill herself.
And so did George Bush.
Of course he did. Of course he did it, but
right.
I could admit that. And so both of us should go back and forth, and instead of trying to throw dispersions at each other, try to work together. Yes, there's parts of the defense budget that need to be cut, and you know what? We have a sequester coming on March 1st that's going to do that unless we work together and do it in a pretty serious way, unless we work together to alleviate that. And number two, look, we all know that it's health care entitlements that are driving the deficit crisis in this country and the debt. And until President Obama gets serious, he doesn't have to approve of Paul Ryan's plan, but offer one of his own. Offer one of his own to solve the problem, and then we'll be much more apt to work together and find a middle ground solution.
All right, we've got to wrap it there.
I agree with you, and we'll see that.
I wish both of you two were elected politicians. We'd have a much smarter debate in Washington if that were the case.
I know a lot of people who might disagree with you on mine.
It'd be entertaining, if nothing else.
It certainly would,
right.
and thank you for being entertaining for the last 15 minutes or so. Brad Dayspring, Senior Advisor to the YG Action Fund from D.C., and Marianne Marsh, former advisor to Senator soon-to-be Secretary of State, no doubt, John Kerry, joining us from Boston. Thank you both. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Have a good
Jonathan.
day.